Well, anyway, look, moving on. Our first guest tonight is an upcoming poet, spoken word artist and writer who aims to share his thoughts through different dimensions. He's a full-time student of Arabic and Islamic studies, as well as, mashallah, being a hafiz of the Quran.
Mashallah. Well, here to celebrate his new spoken word piece titled Love at First Sight, plus with an exclusive live performance potentially on the cards. It is, of course, Shabbir Hassan. Assalamu alaikum, Shabbir. Welcome to Living the Life.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, and a real pleasure, because I was taken aback. Of course, we've all been bored and on the tube and having a good look around.
Yeah.
And yet your pieces aren't, you're not just targeting Muslims, but you're also targeting non-Muslims.
Yeah.
And you featured in TfL on their marketing.
That's
Tell
correct.
us about that.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So I entered a competition which was set up by TfL, Transport for London. And it was mainly a poem to do with like etiquettes of being on a train and using transport. So alhamdulillah, I made it onto their website. My piece is featured there. And different dimensions as well. So like you mentioned, it's not just Muslims that we're trying to reach out to. It's also non-Muslims as well. So I try and keep my poetry diverse as possible in order to reach out to as many people as possible with a positive message, of course.
And obviously, with the TfL poem, sometimes when you're on the tube,
Yeah.
you actually see the poem up on the advertising board.
Yes, yes.
Have you made it?
I haven't made it yet, no. But inshallah, soon you'll see that, inshallah.
Well, I think we'll be seeing it on our screen very shortly. No, beyond that, look, I feel we're going straight into the interview. Your journey, of course, began in 2012.
Yes.
And you've come on so many feats since then. Tell us about where this all began.
It began actually a lot earlier than 2012. When I was a child, when I was a lot younger, I used to write a lot of poetry. In general, I used to write a lot. And what happened was I set up my own blogging site, and I used to share my poetry. And I never had the intention of becoming a spoken word artist. It was always just writing. And then next thing you know, I have queries coming through. We would love to hear your poetry live. And that's where it all started in 2012 in my hometown, which is actually in Exeter, in Devon. That's where it started. Yeah.
We're talking Devon, a lovely place, lovely place.
Lovely,
actually,
yeah.
while we're talking, I think we actually have, you were saying we have an image.
Yes, we do.
So we can bring that up, hopefully, for our viewers to see. Tell us about this. This is the actual TfL poster. This is the poster, right?
This is the poster, yes.
With your poem.
This is the poster, yeah. So this was a couple of months ago I actually entered this competition. And I wasn't actually expecting, because hundreds of people probably entered. Didn't expect it to make it to the website, but alhamdulillah, I found it a couple of days later.
What was that poem about?
It was about moving in the carriage. So when you go into the tube in the morning, into the stations, you're on the train, and obviously you've got so many people around you, it's sort of more of a good message to everyone to move inside the carriage and make space for other people coming in, for the elderly and so on and so forth. Yeah.
As opposed to the whole mind the gap.
Mind the gap.
Yeah.
Tracks down red pots, don't clear my doors. No, you're actually waking people up and saying, well, instead of the regular messages you're getting, here's one that will wake you up. Yeah. But it doesn't just stop there. You've, of course, been spreading Dawah, mashallah, in a lot of your work. Of course, you have your latest piece, Love at First Sight. What is that all about? We're going to be hearing it hopefully later, but what is it all about?
Well, if I speak about it too much, it's going to give it away. From the title, Love at First Sight, and from the initial sort of lyrics that you hear, you assume I'm talking about someone, possibly a female in particular, but later on, at the end of the poem, you find out really who I'm talking about. So again, I don't want to give too much away, inshallah. I can perform it later and then reveal it to all of you, inshallah.
And tell us, where do you get your inspiration from? Because I imagine when you're sitting there, you're putting your thoughts down on paper. Yeah. From where do you get these ideas, and what inspires you to put it down?
Inspiration, for me, comes from everywhere. I can't really have a specific thing that I'm inspired from. What has a heavy effect on my poetry nowadays is, as you mentioned, I'm a full-time student of Arabic and Islamic in sciences. Inshallah, I'm planning to become an alim, a scholar, and studying hadith and studying Arabic poetry. Just the messages that I receive from there and what I take in and what I absorb, through that I am inspired to write a poem on a message which I receive from a hadith or a poem. So alhamdulillah, a lot of places where you can get this inspiration from.
Now, of course, we had some famous poets in Islam, like Rumi, for example.
Yes,
a lot of people still recite his poems and revere his words to today. I mean, do you think that's an art which we've lost as a Muslim community?
Absolutely. We've lost the art. And even the Prophet ﷺ himself had his own personal poets, like Hassan bin Thabit radiallahu anh. And a lot of people actually aren't aware of this, and they aren't aware of the significance of poetry in Islam. And most of the scholars in the past that we quote when it comes to hadith books and so on and so forth, they were all poets as well at the same time. So if you read their poetry in Arabic, it's beautiful. So it is a lost art, definitely, which we need to revive.
It's been much anticipated, and many people are tweeting about it. Shabbir Hassan, of course, you have a fantastic new performance for us.
Yes.
You're going to be performing live here on Islam Channel.
Inshallah.
Love at first sight. Over to you.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. They say seeing is believing. Yeah, I couldn't believe what I saw. This was love at first sight. That first gaze which left me in awe. I had waited and waited, relishing that one opportunity to see you. And what a sight it was. For even without your presence, I feel you. I was mesmerized and speechless. I state that I was simply stunned. It broke me to think I'd leave you, for I was in love. Not many can capture my attention, as well as capture my heart. Love at first sight. I wish to go back to the start. There are millions just like me, who feel the same in their hearts. And there are millions just like me, who do not wish to be apart. We all have mixed emotions, a tear or maybe a smile. But this was love at first sight, and I can't be in denial. I fell in love with you, O Kaaba. Ya Kaaba Baytullah, the house of God in Mecca. How beautiful you are. I still recall that Friday. I first laid my eyes upon you. I'm sorry that I had to leave to depart and distant from you. And though I thank my Lord every day for that honorable opportunity, I raise my hands and I still pray for the reunion of you and me.
Yeah, just listen to that poem. It just reminded me of Hajj. I was there last year. You know, it's beautiful because you're right. The way it was described, you think it's the love for maybe your wife, maybe for your mother, for your sister, or somebody in your life. But then, you know, when you mention the Kaaba, and it's true. You know, as you walk towards, I remember you lower your gaze and you see it in its glory, in its magnificence.
Inshallah.
SubhanAllah, may that love be instilled in all of us.
Inshallah, I mean, to be honest, it's that really took us aback because often people can be great orators, but it's having the substance to go with it. What really inspired you with this particular piece? Where did it all begin?
Had to be when I first went for Umrah. That was the main thing. It was about 2 years ago. Obviously, being a poet, different experiences influence your poetry, and there was no way I could go to Mecca and Medina and not write a poem about my experience. So when I came back, the first thing I did was write a poem, and subhanAllah, I returned last year as well. So alhamdulillah, I'm planning to go again and inshallah write more poetry about the experience. Alhamdulillah.